Welcome to the Gro Sho, everybody. Today we're talking about seedlings, germination, and how to get everything up and running. So, choosing seeds is going to be a pretty crucial part. It's going to be pretty important to the whole deal.
Yep.
I like to look. You got stereotypical thick shell, brown seed, black stripes. A lot of people used to say, and some people even still say, that's how you can tell it's a female.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The stripes. The stripes are female
It's because of the
seeds.
stripes.
Well,
It's not. It's not environment. At least from what I've read and from what I've seen, it just seems to be a straight up 50-50.
Yeah. That's definitely a myth.
I think so.
When you're looking for seeds, you want to look for seeds that are firm, that pass a squeeze test. You can take the seed in
Oh,
your
the squeeze
fingers
test is good.
and put your finger in there and squeeze it. Give it a good squeeze. If the seed
pinchers.
if the seed collapses, the shell cracks, anything like that, seed's no good. It's not viable.
Yeah.
But if the seed is good, a good squeeze test will not ruin the seed. You won't damage the seed at all because it should be able to hold up to that. So that's a good, quick little way to test for a decent, viable seed.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's a good way to right off the rip tell vitality as soon as you squeeze it. If it's already as a seed, it's got a hard shell.
Yep.
It's going to be able to withstand everything needed for the germination process.
And everything that's in the seed is in the seed. It's intact.
Right.
Nothing's been contaminated. There's no bacteria in there that's not supposed to be there.
Nothing.
Everything that's in your seed to grow, everything that's going to start the grow process for your plant is in that seed. Genetically, It's all there. All the little bits and pieces and the energy and the food and everything that it needs to germinate and create the initial taproot and everything else is all there.
Yeah.
Once that comes out, then it switches over to the soil.
Right. Then it'll start to withdraw once it gets that taproot into the soil. But everything, like you said before, then you can literally germinate in a paper towel.
Yep.
You just bought seeds from Blimburn?
Yeah, Blimburn in California.
What was it?
Seed bank.
Oh yeah. Okay.
The actual seed.
Yeah, the seed is the
seed
strain.
is the strain is Stone Panda. It's one of their strains.
That's an adorable name.
Yeah,
Stone Panda.
Great name.
That's great.
Yeah,
That should be fun.
Yeah, it's a well balanced hybrid. So we'll see what happens.
Okay.
We'll find out down the road. I'm sure we'll find out. So with cannabis laws changing all the time and this, that, and the other thing, this week we're just going to talk about knowing your state laws. Because when people say, oh, marijuana is legal now, and you have that idea that, oh, yeah, marijuana is legal, I can just do whatever I want. That's not the case. There's still guidelines, just as there is with alcohol or anything else. There's rules where you can use it, when you can use it. If your state, and not all states do, allow indoor growing and personal cultivation, there's a number of plants. For instance, in this state, I can cultivate 3 plants in veg and 3 plants in flower per adult. So I can have 6 plants for myself, 3 and 3, and then 6 plants for another person in my home, a resident over 18 in my home, 3 and 3. And then there's laws on how much you can have, how much you can keep, how much you can carry. In this state, a person can have it on them, in their person, in their car, whatever, 5 ounces. Again, you can't just carry it in a car, in a bag. In this state, it has to be locked in your glove compartment in your trunk or in a locking console. You can't have access to it when you drive. So all these different laws are things you want to find out. What are the limits? What are this, that, and the other thing? Of course, all this stuff you can always find out at normal.org, NORML. Normal's been looking out for us and helping us for years and years, since the 70s, and we want to give them a shout out and keep their site active. So go there and check your local state laws and make sure you're going to get it right without getting it wrong. Thanks a lot. But anyway, yeah, getting back to seeds, the options to buying seeds and acquiring seeds are all over the place. You can find them
nowadays.
You can find them on Marketplace, on Facebook.
Yep, that's true.
You can get them from friends. And then, of
You
course,
can make
all
your
the
own.
way up, you can make your own.
You can make your own.
As Justin has done. It's a timely process.
Takes forever.
Takes effort. And trying to fertilize and keep your other plants not fertilized. Keep girls where the girls should be and the boys where the boys should be.
That's a tough task, even when they don't have legs.
Yeah. They find a way, like we all find a way.
Oh man.
But and then all the way up to your high-end seeds.
Right.
Your boutique seeds and certain
That's true.
strains and that kind of thing with multiple suppliers all over. You can just search.
Well, we were even just at a convention not too long ago, and the people were selling seeds at the convention.
Yeah.
Right there in
was
person.
Lots of seed suppliers at the convention.
Yeah,
You can definitely pick them up there. In some states, you can buy seedlings as well at your conventions and your expos.
Right.
So that's something to consider if you're looking to get your crop started.
Multiple options to do that. Love that.
Yep.
But Blimberm, I think you were telling me had a paper towel method that they specifically recommended.
Yeah, one of the methods that we all do is we've done it the other way, of course. We kind of go with the rock wool and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the paper towel method is for them to back up their warranty, their germination guarantee that the seeds are going to grow for you. You have to go through a process that's on their website. But part of it is you have to germinate them initially through the paper towel method, which is wetting 2 paper towels, putting the seeds between them, putting them in between 2 plates, and then letting them go for 24, 48 hours, sometimes a little bit longer if it's a little cooler, and keeping them at a steady temperature between, was it like 70 to
90, I think is usually the
I think
seed
they
germination
usually
rate.
call for 75 to 85, something like that. But keep it in a closer window if you can. And you just wait 24 hours, check on them. If you don't see anything, wait another 24 and check them again.
Right.
And eventually you'll see the little taproot breaking out of the shell of the seed, and that's when it's time to move them into a soil.
And that's just their guarantee. They say their seeds work the best way.
Right.
Germinate the best by that.
Right. There's
Okay.
a lot of back and forth.
Okay.
We can go all
Well,
day.
yeah.
About
That's true.
I personally, I've killed seeds with the paper towel.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Quite frankly.
Most of the ones that I try in that setting die.
I've screwed them up and left them in there for a week and a half, and there's still nothing except mold.
One time I tried putting them on top of a radiator. My house is old and it has radiators. And I put them in a paper towel, Ziploc bag, put it on top of the radiator. And then the first time the heat kicked on, absolutely cooked the seeds. Cooked them. Completely roasted them. It was terrible.
So that's,
My favorite method, it's 50-50 between just putting them straight in a cup of dirt or doing rock wool. Those are the two that I've had the best with. Because rock wool is...
I've had very good luck with rock wool.
Rock wool, it's hard to beat. The only problem is that it doesn't break down very fast. I still have some pucks every time I finish a grow and everything's in rock wool.
Yeah.
When I go and I chop the plant down, the puck of rock wool's still sitting in the dirt.
Yeah.
Halfway tucked in.
Yeah, I've pulled out autoflowers.
Yeah.
Autoflowers with it still almost intact, just split around the main stem.
That's the only complaint I have about them. But otherwise, you put the seed in, you soak them for 24 hours, you put the seed in, I like to rip a piece of it off and cover the hole to provide darkness. Mm-hmm. I let it sit there in a hot box with a heat mat underneath it for like 5 days.
Yeah.
And by then it's lifted off the little chunk that I ripped on it. The seed's standing, and it's probably got its cotyledons starting to poke out in probably 5 days. Most of them, in my opinion, it's got a good rate. If you're in a hot box with a heat mat on it, and you have the temperature put at like 75.
That's about what
80. Some maybe 80, depends what time of year.
That
if you're in the
seems to be
winter,
what I've had the best luck
yeah.
with anyway.
And it easy, consistent. You'll germinate if that seed's going to germinate in that setting. Rock wool soaked in water with a heat mat in a little hot box, or even a solo cup with saran wrap wrapped on it.
Anything that domes in your moisture and your humidity from the heat.
That's a big deal when you're trying to germinate seeds. If you're not keeping the area moist where the seed's trying to sprout, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
it needs to be
definitely
damp.
Invest in a heat mat for your
heat
seeds.
mat.
It's they're affordable.
The best
You can get one
purchase.
for $10.
Doesn't matter what time of year.
Yeah.
Your seeds are going to be at the right temperature, and they cost barely any electricity.
And do not line your pots up or your seedling trays or anything on bare concrete. Never put anything on bare concrete.
Right, always lift it off of something.
Yep.
We use...
Put it on a plank, put it on anything you want, but don't put it on.
You gave me a piece of that insulation board that was like an inch thick, or inch and a half thick.
Standard commercial insulation.
I put that on top of I have a 100-gallon bed. I'll put that right on top of it, put the heat mat on it, put
Yep.
the hot box on it, and put it all literally right underneath my big light on top
There
of
you
the
go.
bed. And it
You're
just,
good to go.
as soon as they're done right now, actually, they're literally at like probably 3 weeks in a cocoa cup core. I'm trying these for the first time. It's a cup that is like, instead of a Jiffy pot,
Yeah.
it's a coconut hair cup,
Oh, it's made out of, okay.
essentially cocoa core.
Yeah.
And I filled it with Fox Farm Happy Frog. Put the seed, or once it sprouted, I put the rock wool directly into that Jiffy cup, covered it up, and just let them sit there. And now the roots are starting to grow through the bottom.
Nice.
So I put them directly on top of the 100-gallon bed.
Perfect.
And as I water, the roots start following the water down into the big bed. And they'll literally be a cup on top of the bed, and they'll grow their roots into the bed.
That's
at
great.
least what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping.
We'll find out.
That's what I'm hoping works.
Yeah. For people that are not familiar with cocoa core, it's what Justin said. It's the hair off a coconut that they take, they strip it off, and then they weave it into a usable medium where you could put it in your soil like peat or...
Right. It's pretty much just a fibrous... I don't think it really contains any nutrients. I think it's just a fibrous material that can drain water, let air in, and hold dirt.
Yep.
Like, it literally is just like a filler.
Yeah. Filler brings, gives your roots some oxygen to breathe and
right.
keeps the soil from becoming compacted. In
right.
Your
it
pot.
really helps with overwatering.
Yeah.
Right now, those plants are probably 3 weeks in that cup, and they're clearly too big for the cup because I used to be able to water every 3 days, and now it's like every day. I have to water that cup to keep those things going. I should transplant them, but I'm trying to... I don't think I'm going to make it, but I'm trying to wait to sex them to see if they're male or female, because this is generation 2 of Blue Flamingo. Or no, it's F1 seedlings. The one that I'm growing now is the first run of Blue Flamingo that I want you to see later. That one's flowering and almost finished. The other ones that I'm running, I'm going to breed them together for F2. So like they're seedlings, and I'm trying to get male, female, and then move them into the flowering tent when they go to flower, so I can get the next generation of seeds,
Gotcha.
right?
So
that's we'll talk about all those in different videos, but just for trying to get the seedlings to stay in a certain size cup, you've got 2 weeks in those cocoa cups, 3 weeks max, and
then it's time to move.
They're needing to be moved. So you can start your seedling directly in a cocoa cup. It's actually probably about this big, and it's just a coconut hair cup. Put your dirt in there, and you can put the seed directly in there. Cover it with Saran wrap. I think you did that with some autos, right? With Amanda's auto.
Oh, the Saran.
Did you put that directly in?
Yeah.
Just like that, like in a cup of water?
Yeah.
And it worked well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I
Better
did,
than paper towel method?
Yeah. And I also did 3 of, what was that other stuff I did? Hellfire.
Oh, the Hellfire.
Kush, Hellfire OG Kush. I did that.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, and those were also right into dirt.
Right into dirt.
Right into
okay,
dirt.
So they don't got any rock wool in there. Nice.
Nothing. Right into dirt.
Because a lot of people
and
say
the dirt was Fox Farm Happy Frog.
Oh yeah.
And with that, I put a handful of peat. I made up a little bucket of dirt, a regular, paint-sized bucket, where I put Happy Frog in there, a handful of
that biotone starter.
Not even I'd say about a quarter cup of
okay.
biotone starter. Not very much, because again, your seeds have what they need. This is only going to be for like that 10-day period, that 2-week period. They're going to be cup.
And then when you transplant,
transplant the whole ball, and you're going into a full pot anyway. But just using a Happy Frog
right in
soil. Mix that with sprinkle just a little bit of biotone starter to get the roots a little jump when they first break out of the seed. You get that taproot down there going, and you want it to come to life. And a little bit of peat moss.
Yeah.
And that was it. Mix that together, and I think, that was about it.
All right, they look pretty good.
And then just broke it into the cups, and did it in solo cups, your regular solo cups that you can wash out for free after your latest keg party. And
poke a couple holes in the bottom of them.
Yeah.
Help yourself out. But solo cups are a fantastic, easy way to do it.
Yeah.
You can take 5 of them and use them for the longest time.
Take one, poke 4 or 5 holes in the bottom of it. Then take one, put your dirt in one, keep that one separate. Slide your dirt one into that one. You can fill it, and it actually creates a water reservoir in the bottom of the cup without soaking the soil. Gives you a little better chance of not overwatering your seeds and your seedlings.
Go lightly on the reservoir, because if your dirt is completely dry and you put it into a cup halfway filled with water, your water will fill up.
Oh yeah,
way too much. You just use a little bit of water,
just a little bit.
Put it in there, and it'll wick its way up the cup.
Yeah,
it's a really good method for starting too. Jiffy pods are good. The little pucks. Those have you tried those? The little compost pucks. They're little circles. It's a little disc with a divot in it, and you take your seed. Well, just like rock wool, you put it in water.
Okay.
And it's there's a chance it might be cocoa core as well, but it is in a little mesh container, and it actually expands. Not that big. It starts as like a quarter, and when you put water in it, it grows to probably like this big. And it's like a little puck of expanding dirt.
Okay. Yeah.
But you put your seed in
it
puffs up.
and puffs up.
Cocoa core does that too sometimes.
Okay.
And it'll expand like that. And then you literally take that cup or the puck and you put that in your soil cup. It's the same as rock wool. But it's like they use different methods for it.
Yeah.
And the only thing is, some people will say that can hold too much moisture and build mold. I've never had it happen, but I've heard people say that when you take that cocoa core or the plug, whatever the plug is, that when you stick it in the dirt, that it doesn't break down fast enough and it holds moisture right around the stalk.
Yeah.
And it can make mold in like a soft spot. I've never had it happen.
Yeah.
I don't see why I guess rock wool is supposed to be a little more aerated. So it shouldn't technically happen there, but I've never had it personally happen.
No.
It's just a thing I've heard about.
No.
If you believe everything you hear on the internet, you won't go outside anymore.
The other thing to remember too is overwatering your seeds, and then your seedlings come up. There's a condition where you'll see it come up, but it'll get a very, very thin stem that shoots up kind of rapid. Like you'll come down the next day and be like, wow, look at that, and they're up and they're really thin. And then within a couple hours, it's laid over. It's just fold right over the side. That is usually from a group of 3 bacteria that live in the soil. And they're dormant in soil that's been sitting for a while. And then if you overwater it and create an overwatered situation where it's too moist, you can wake these bacteria up and they attack the plant, and that's what happens. And that's why it'll go over like that. Everything will seem right. Your temperature's right. Everything's good. You cleaned your stuff. Again, sanitizing your equipment. You can wipe everything down with peroxide before you start. Your containers, your cups, this, that, and the other thing. You'll find as many people out there to tell you that's a lot of
crap.
A lot of crap. I'll just say a lot of crap.
A lot of crap.
And other people that swear it's mandatory to get 190+% information. So I'm sure there's some science to it, but
that's things that we're gonna learn. We're gonna figure out.
These are
throughout the life of this channel. We're gonna figure out if things like actually doing hydrogen peroxide. Why not? Right? We'll do some tests as we keep going.
I do a little bit of it.
You do, right? I mean, listen, the grows you've had have been really good. You can't deny it. I mean,
I also use.
We'll put pictures in and show it.
I also use city water from a city in central Connecticut.
So does it matter?
That they tell you really can't use.
Oh yeah, that'll be fun.
If you use tap water in your seedlings, it's good to take
That's a good point.
Yeah, take some of your tap water, put it in some clean plastic milk bottles, soda bottles, whatever you got. Keep them out of the sun. Keep them in a dark place. Keep the cap off.
Yep.
And at least give them 3-4 days before you use
100%.
them in your seedlings and your seeds, because you want the chlorine to evaporate out of the water.
That is real.
Chemicals that can. There are chemicals. I know people will send in emails. The engineers from Detroit that will come in and send me things and tell me about the stuff that doesn't evaporate out of the water. We're aware of that. But this is one thing you can do to kind of help bring down the pH of the water and kind of let it just neutralize a little bit before you give it to your plants.
If you have filtered water, that's perfect.
Yes.
If you have distilled water, that's great.
It's really your best way to go.
Because like we keep saying, they don't need anything to start. They just need water.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
When you have them in the soil and you have covering over them, you're going to water the seed. You're going to give it enough water for, I like at least the first couple inches of the solo cup, if that's what you're starting in, to get wet. Then you put cellophane over it and lock that moisture in.
Yeah.
When it's on a heat mat, you'll start to see water develop on the cellophane layer. Just leave it there. Wait until the seed pops up and goes. You won't have to water for like 3 days.
Yeah, you shouldn't
4
have
days,
to water.
5 days.
If there's
somewhere
moisture
along
on the cellophane, if there's condensation on the bottom of the cellophane, you don't need to water.
Right, that's true.
That's
correct.
It. There's enough water in that environment that it's very happy.
And you just leave it there. Once it breaks the soil, you can put a light on it. You can put a nice little light on it. You can use, I've seen the little 30 LED or 30 what are they?
They're small house plant
watts, like
grow
30
lights.
watt
30
lights.
watt,
yeah,
30 watt lights,
yes.
and there's a lot of
Tiny
stuff available
little things.
online.
Plant
You
little
can go
seedlings.
to the big river and find a million different things.
That big river is gonna have everything you need.
Everything.
But any
even
light
at
works.
that point,
window
a
light.
$10 window light
Yep.
is a great light at that point because you want a very, very gentle
that
light.
little halo light
Yeah.
that you tried. That thing's been working great, and that's what? How many? Do you know how many watts that is?
It's low voltage.
It's
I don't even
tiny.
know. I think it's like 15,
it's literally a little
20,
halo.
15, maybe 15 watts.
And it's growing stuff.
But it's good for that.
Yeah.
It's good for that.
It's perfect for popping seeds out of the ground.
Now,
you don't need
if
much.
any of you out there went out and, you just won the lottery or got your tax return and you decided you were going to go to AC Infinity and buy their
go hard.
$1 million startup kit and you're going to put your seedlings in your nice new tent with your turbo 5000 light, turn it down as low as you can get it.
If it's got a dial,
all the way
mine
down.
mine only
I think
clicks.
it stops at 10.
Mine will do 25, 50, 75, 100.
Okay.
So the lowest I can do is 25 or
And
off.
that's where you go.
You put it on 25 and just let it chill.
Yeah.
Lift it up
And
to.
give it a little elevation. Don't drop it right down on your
People
seedlings.
say to jam your light right down here to prevent stem growth and to prevent stretching. Right? They say that the closer your light is, the less your plant's going to want to move, and that's not entirely true.
Right.
If you have a really powerful light and you put it this far above your plant and you turn it on too high, you will roast that sucker.
Yeah.
It will not be able to hang. If you have a big light and you come up here, like, I'm going to give a crazy example. We've seen this thing before. It's called the sun, and it is outside, and it's a very, very powerful light. And it is very far away from the earth. And it gives enough light for those little seedlings to stretch and do their nice little growth pattern outside. So if you've got a megawatt up here burning light down onto your soil, and you put it this close, and you put it this close to your thing, take a par meter and go under your light, and you're gonna have like 2,500.
Yeah.
You're gonna have 3,000. You're gonna roast that damn thing.
And
so
right
you
now
just
we're
need a little light.
Justin's mentioning a par meter, not to freak everybody out that you've just started growing, so you better run out and buy your par meter.
Oh, don't do
We're
that.
saying that for conversation, what we're saying, if you were to see with a par meter, the reading at that level, you'd understand in the center of the light. It's just way too much light.
Way too much power.
So you don't need to say whatever the package says when you bought your light, whatever it says the par, that's your par level. Just go with that for now. That's all you need.
It's close enough.
Yeah, you don't. They're usually pretty close.
But there's different methods that provide different results. I don't think putting your light directly on top of your seedling and cranking it up is the best route. I've heard that to prevent stretching. Like you said, you're just going to roast it.
There's a time when you want to prevent stretching, and there is, to have lights at certain heights. But at that point, it's really not. I would say, because it's better to err on the side of caution, that if your light is too powerful and you're not aware of it, you're better off having it a little high and worrying about stretching a 3-day-old seedling than worrying about.
Because if it stretches, you can thicken that stalk.
Yeah.
You can thicken that stalk. It is not that big of a deal. Yeah. And there's better ways to try to prevent stretching than throwing your seed that close to the light. Just give it darkness, let it come up. They need just a little itty bitty bit of light to stand up, put out their cotyledons. Those are going to be the first leaves that pop out. They're going to make
tiny little round leaves
pop out like that. Those are cotyledons. That's a good sign.
Yep.
And then they'll open up the first node.
Nothing to do with male or female.
Nothing to do with male or female. Everyone does it. They pop up their first node. It's going to have 2 more leaves, usually go in the opposite direction. And from there, you'll start having the plant build up. That's when you're in seedling stage. That's when you've got it out of germination. It's developed past the cotyledon leaves. In my opinion, that's when seedling stage starts.
Yeah.
So if you've got a seed, you bought an expensive seed from wherever, and you're looking at the package, and it says 12 weeks to flower.
Here we go.
Do you think that means?
Here we go.
Do you think that means 12 weeks from seedling, from germination, or does that mean 12 weeks that it takes to flower?
I mean that it's going to start an argument with every person you talk to that thinks it's one or the other, because I sure as hell get confused over it all the time. Veg to flower is easy to understand.
Yes.
Seedling to veg is understandable, but for some reason there seems to be some mystery behind the terminology of the time it takes from when it breaks the ground to when it will be ready to harvest your flower, your buds. So I don't know. The more I read, the more
I don't
go
know.
back and forth on it. I really
I don't know. It just turns
I
out
haven't looked up the
that I'm not
definition.
sure.
It seems to be, I mean, I'm looking for a thing that's going to tell me. It seems to be with a lot of them, if you're seeing numbers that are 12, 13 weeks, something like that,
Right.
then you're looking at from the time it sprouts to the time it harvests. But when you get into a window of 8 or 9 weeks, that could be the whole show. That could be just your flowering period. So
The way that I like to do it, like breeders have their recommendations because they've grown them a bunch of times to make the seeds that are viable enough for you to use. So like they've grown the strain, I get it. But what I like to do, just kind of in general, because when you first start a new strain, you don't really know how it's going to react. You don't really know what's going to go on. So I like to do, I'll give them like 7 days to germinate. When I'm keeping my book, if you're not keeping a log, you should keep a log. When you put the seed in the dirt,
Absolutely.
when you watered it, if you watered it,
yeah,
when it popped through the dirt, when the leaves started, keep a log, write
Yep.
down dates, because the amount of times you forget that is amazing.
Right.
So I'll do about
and you
7
have
days.
you have to refer back for so many different things,
Oh
like
my
you were saying,
goodness.
especially now when we're talking about
Yep.
how many days it's going to be until you're getting ready to flip this thing to flower.
Right.
People will tell you, well, you veg until you get the size you want, comparing your
To some
container,
degree,
and,
true.
And part of that is true, but there's a general thing where you don't want to over veg a plant because that too has disadvantages.
It does. It does. If you're not on top of trimming and doing all that,
Right.
growing veg in a plant too long is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But everyone has, or the breeders have their own specific rules. Like Blimburn
Right.
wants you to follow the
Yep.
paper towel method.
Yep.
My personal thing would be rock wool. Put it in water. Let it sit for 7 days. Once it starts to sprout,
Yep.
you take it from there and put it in the cups, like we said. Put it all down, and that's probably a 2-week process. By the time I put it in the dirt,
Yeah.
it goes up, or in the rock wool, comes up, gets put in a cup, and then is like established within the cup. It's probably like a 2-week process,
Yeah.
and that's probably like is when I would personally start calling it veg.
That's the same with me. When it goes in, you get through your few days where you might go through a little shock, transplant shock, if maybe you made a little mistake or there's a big temperature change or something like that. Maybe you
Right, you dial in
beat it
your
up a little
room.
bit, trying to get it out of the cup and kind of roughed it up a little bit. That's when I consider veg to start.
Yeah.
That's veg.
I agree with that too.
So
And
if it takes a week between the sprout and that,
Right.
then I don't really
That's
consider
seedling.
that as the life. That's seedling
No.
time. Right. That's seedling time.
I don't either. Okay, so that's interesting for that. So I'll generally do 2 months, 8 weeks of vegetation on average.
Yes.
A lot of times we're growing indoor in a tent. So like I have one big bed that's about 100 gallons that can grow about 4 plants, and then I have another tent that does 5-gallon containers, and those each get 1 plant. And in about 2 months, you're ready to flip to flower. So I directly will I'll do the initial from rock wool right into the 5-gallon.
Yep.
Because why
That's
not
what I
place
do.
it right where it's going to go?
Yep, I go right
Put it
to
right-
it. Some
because-
people do a pot in between.
Right. You don't have to.
Not sure why that is. I know a lot of your large commercial places all do it.
Yeah.
It could be like a
Maybe it's just
logistical
holding.
thing.
Yeah, maybe
I don't
right.
know.
Maybe it's logistics. Maybe it's
I don't know.
something
But
like that.
It's I go straight.
I write in.
That's it. Right into the big
Right as
pot.
the rock wool pops, you get a little root from the rock wool, stick it right in the dirt, heavy water,
Yep.
let it run. Put your lights on kind of high. If they're too powerful, put them up. If you can dim them down nice and gentle, you can put them low and close, and that works pretty well. That'll get you started to at least pop up. Don't use any nutrients until you have a couple of little node stacks.
Yep.
You want a couple leaves going different ways before you start jamming in any nitrogen and stuff. Let the plant get established and let it just live its life for a little bit before you start throwing the wind at it.
Everything that plant is going to need at that stage is in any quality soil that you buy.
Yes.
I don't care if you buy it at the big box store, you buy it at your corner hardware store, or you buy it at a plant shop. If it's decent quality, it's going to have everything it needs for at least the first 2 weeks. You don't even have to worry about it until you put it in your big box. It'll last you never have to fertilize your cup, and then even once you go into your big pot, then you're set up with your long-term, your soil. But yeah, I would say I don't fertilize my cups at all. No.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Just everything they need is in that soil to get them going and get them to the point that you're going to put them in the big pot. And really is where I start my veg time. That's when I consider my.
Yeah, definitely agree with that.
6 to 8. Yeah, another thing we could that people need to consider. You're going to hear fans. People are going to talk about fans. Everybody needs fans, and it's true. You need fans. Your grow needs fans. It's part of your necessary equipment. However, when you're doing your seedlings and you're first getting your first seedlings started, you don't need a fan.
No.
In fact, at that point, you're really, really relying on the moisture in its environment to help it sprout and start. Start its life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because
so you don't want a fan on, because if the fan is actually going to dry it out.
It'll dry you out
for that.
You'll be watering more often, and I bet that's probably a common issue because people will just have their environment set up, fan rolling, moving, and as it goes, it just dries out the seedling cup, and you're over there watering and watering and watering.
And the other thing is, you're going to have a hard time finding a fan or putting it at a far enough distance unless you've got a 40-foot room where you can put a fan on a little seedling and have it not come back in the next day and things hanging over the side
getting beat up
because it just got beat up by a tornado.
Right. That's true. That's true. When do you think is a good time to fan them then? Like when in the seedling?
It's in the veg stage, definitely. Yeah. Once you're into the veg stage, I think I hit mine with a fan at about 3 weeks.
Okay. About 3 weeks,
yeah. About 3 weeks.
Okay.
And then even then,
I'm
you can put it on
that,
part of the time. Doesn't have to be on 24 hours a day at that stage.
Yeah.
Depending on your environment. That's
true. That's a good point.
But I usually run mine during the day.
Okay.
For
a couple hours on, a couple hours off.
6 hours, 8 hours. Maybe when you get home from work, if you're a day worker and you get home from work, you turn it on after work and let it run, or you could turn it on in the morning before you leave.
Right.
But I generally turn mine off at night. Once my veg moves to the point where it's really the plant's starting to develop, we're talking a foot tall plant. I have 6, 7, 8, 9 nodes on it, or shoots on it on 3 or 4 different nodes. Then it's time to go 24 hours.
Oh yeah, big time.
No doubt about it. You want it on all the way.
Early stages, no fan while you're in germination. Very, very light during seedling. Like just hit it every now and then for like a couple minutes. Turn it off. By the time you're in veg, you can have it on for a few hours.
Yeah, when you first
roughly 3 weeks, 24/7. Smack it.
Yep. About 3 weeks. That's it. You want the fan on all the time.
That sounds pretty good.
That's a good call. And remember that the fan has multiple purposes. We'll get into this in veg, but it's as we said, it has. One of it is movement to help control mold and pests and stuff like that. But
Absolutely.
The other thing, and it's important when we're talking seedlings, is that it strengthens the stem.
Mm-hmm.
The stimulation of the wind blowing on your seedlings strengthens the stem of the plant and gives it rigidity, which is going to help you. It works with your root development and everything else for a better stem development. And that we'll get into in veg.
Right, yes. Exactly. That'll be something for you guys to like and subscribe to. Follow along with us as we go episode to episode. As we learn, we'll teach you guys anything we can figure out. If we learn anything. I mean,
But we're going to try.
We're going to try. We're going to sure give it a couple of shots and see what happens. Yeah. I hope you guys want to follow along with us. Thanks for coming. That's what's happening in the grow this week, and we'll catch up with you guys later.